Tonight we have a guest speaker who hopefully is briefer than I am. Our speaker, who most of you know, is a member of the Connecticut State General Assembly for 17 years and served as our state senator since the year 2000. He was a tireless advocate for northwestern Connecticut, particularly concerning conservation. But because the White Memorial has always been apolitical, we can now have him speak. That's because earlier this year, he was nominated by the governor to the judiciary, and in April was sworn in as a Connecticut Superior Court judge. Please join me in welcoming our former state senator and now Superior Court Judge, Andrew Roraback. Your Honor.
I really feel blessed because this is the first speech I've had an opportunity to give not being an elected official. What it means not to be an elected official is one only has to speak when one chooses to speak. And I can't imagine any circumstance where I could be more honored than to join all of you in celebrating the centennial of an organization that has meant so much to so many. As part of preparing for my remarks, and I will be briefer than Arthur because I had a stopwatch going on my smartphone, I had first the privilege of reading Keith's amazingly beautiful book. I mean, it is beautifully laid out, and its content is beautiful, and together, if you haven't had a chance to read it yet, it is an amazing history, an amazing tribute to the people that brought us here tonight. And then I also stopped by Thursday morning and got a copy of the history that was written on the 25th anniversary of White Memorial, and read through that. And I think the most telling thing for me in reading through that was each of the then trustees wrote a chapter in the book. And Elaine White did not appropriate to himself any spot of grandeur. He was just one of the trustees, and his chapter was about the boat landing and Marsh's Point. And it's very interesting reading, but you could tell that he wasn't someone who was wishing for the spotlight to be shined on himself. So I was thinking back to try to imagine what 1913 was like in our world, our nation, our state, our community. And 1913 was the 50th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg. And in that year, thousands of Civil War veterans traveled with their families to the battlefield to commemorate a half century having passed since that epic battle. In 1913, Henry Ford created the first moving assembly line. And between the beginning of that year and the end of that year, the time it took to assemble a chassis went from 12 and a half hours to 2 hours and 40 minutes. In 1913, R.J. Reynolds packaged the first cigarettes. The brand was Camel. And in 1913, we dedicated the Lincoln Highway, which was the first road which went from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean and was suitable for travel by an automobile. Closer to home, the Litchfield Garden Club was founded. Yay! In 1913, Harriet Tubman and J.P. Morgan died. Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Vince Lombardi, Rosa Parks, and Jesse Owens, and I learned tonight, Mitch Van Winkle, were all born in 1913. And it's hard to imagine that anyone in 1913 could have seen what life would be like in 2013. The internet, cell phones, space travel, so much has changed. And that's what makes our celebration tonight so important. Because what we're celebrating is what Elaine and May White did not want to change. What they didn't want to change is that the land they acquired would be preserved and made available for the public, for conservation for recreation, for education, and for research. And tonight we honor and salute not only Elaine and May White, without whom none of this would have happened, but we're also here to salute all of the current and former staff and the trustees who have kept faith so firmly with the vision which gave birth to the foundation. And I think this organization, nothing speaks more loudly to the power of this organization than to the longevity of those who have served it. And I'm going to, at the risk of imperiling myself, Mr. Laurie is here, and on the celebration of his 90th birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Laurie. And I think enough time has passed for me to recall that when I went to the White Memorial Nature Camp, as Susie Pollack was reminding me, we all jumped in the back of a truck, an open truck, and Mr. Laurie would get us from White Memorial to the garnet mines in Roxbury in about 22 minutes. We would bounce around like there was no tomorrow. And I also want to salute Keith Cudworth, who has given so much of his life to this organization and who has fallen. So while Elaine and May White were so far ahead of their time in recognizing the value to all of us in preserving the land, and while we all acknowledge that so much has changed, what we celebrate here tonight is what has not changed. And what has not changed is the enjoyment people derive from spending time in nature. And Elaine and May have believed that people would need a refuge from the noise and filth of the Industrial Revolution, because you can be sure in 1913, noise and filth were abounding in Waterbury and Torrington and Naugatuck, and people needed a refuge from the noise. But today that refuge is equally important and restorative to those of us who want to shed our smartphones, tablets, and laptops, if only for a few hours. White Memorial has given equal opportunity to thousands from all walks of life to enjoy the timeless gifts of nature. So to honor the past, to honor the vision of all who have made this treasure what it is, the staff, the trustees, and the public, it's incumbent upon us to continue to keep faith with the vision that Elaine and May White had. And if the future stewards of this organization can do half as well as those who have seen it through its first 100 years, then there's no doubt in my mind that 100 years from tonight, people will be celebrating as we are. In 1938, Governor Wilbur Cross, then a trustee of the White Memorial Foundation, in writing to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the foundation, said that its success was due to the many public-spirited men and women who, without hope or expectation of reward, devote their means and their time to the welfare and happiness of others. That has been the secret recipe of White Memorial Foundation. It is quiet, it is effective, and it is impactful. Henry David Thoreau said, "A society is wealthy in direct proportion to its capacity to leave things alone." That makes those of us in Litchfield and Morris extraordinarily wealthy, because what has been left alone for the benefit of all of us will be here for generations to come, and I'm very honored to share with you this celebratory evening. Thank you very much.